Okay, looks like we are live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being with us. My name is Holly. I am a pediatric occupational therapist and one of the hostesses for the Thriving in the First Year Summit. And I'm so excited to have Kailee with me today. Kailee, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Kailee. I am a doctor of pediatric physical therapy and also one of the hosts with Holly.
Yay! So let us know if you are here with us. Can you give us like a thumbs up or whatever in the chat box? It's really helpful just to know that we are in audio and everything. I've done a couple of lives before where I was like on mute for the first 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
And then you're like, what did I say? I like forgot everything that I said, right?
Yeah.
Oh dear. So if you're with us, would you just give us a thumbs up there in the comment box? We're going to be talking a little bit about the summit today. We're going to be talking about our wonderful sponsors, some of the daily prizes, and we're also going to be sharing a little bit. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. We see you. We're going to be sharing a little bit about our own experiences as moms, and we hope that you can relate to some of these. And I'm sure it's going to be a time of laughing and just reflecting. So thank you so much for being with us. Should we get started talking about the prize for today? And then I'll explain a little bit about the bingo card if anybody doesn't know what that means yet.
Yeah. If I looked like I had a deer in headlights look on my face, it was because I was not seeing comments. I was in another screen. But now, hi, Jennifer. I see your comment too. I'm really excited actually about today's prize because it's something that I am just going to be launching actually after the summit. So, it is what I'm calling the Move on Track bundle. And so I've got lots of different courses on separate skills for baby in the first year, but I'm actually bundling everything together and giving it to people for an even better price. But I'm giving one away free today. So that includes my birth to 24 months motor milestones checklist, my motor milestone and purposeful play cards, which is like, I should have gotten one out, like a little card deck that you have on a little ring that goes birth to 12 months. It tells you all the motor milestones to expect in that first year. And then on the back of each card has 3 little fun, quick and simple play ideas that you can do with your baby. It also includes my ultimate guide to tummy time, my rolling course, my crawling course, and my walking workshop. So it's a $115 value. It will be on sale after the summit for $99, but for today, I'm giving one away for free. So I'm excited to do that.
Wow, that's amazing. This like motor stuff, it's really a big chunk of everybody's day as a parent, right? Like watching how much they start rolling and then crawling and all of the things. So it's so exciting to have just like that help. I mean, I know even for me as an OT that we also work with a physical component, but when it's your own kid, like, I don't know, just having a course, having that stuff on hand that you can kind of go through it a little bit more systematically, it's just so, so helpful.
Yeah, it's hard to navigate what we're supposed to even be doing with them, right? So that was really my goal with a lot of this stuff is not that we need to teach our babies to move, but that if a parent is wondering, I love to love on my baby and snuggle with them, but I don't really know what to do other than that. And there's so many ideas online. This is to kind of be just a one-stop shop. So, and that's what we're hoping for with this summit too, right? Is just to drown out a little bit of the noise and just be able to focus and have one solid resource. So yeah, say hey if you're here. Do you want to explain the bingo? That's how you'll win the bundle is if you get bingo today. So maybe Holly can explain a little bit about that.
Yes. Okay. We see a few more of you coming in. If you are here joining us, come and just say hi in the chat box so we know that you're with us live, and you can then tick off that extra bingo card on your bingo sheet. So basically, the bingo sheet is our way of getting you involved in the process of learning along the lines of the summit. So what we found in the past running summits is that it's so much information. It can just like fly by without you really feeling like you've dug your hands into it, like you've really started applying some of the things that we're learning. So that's what we really want you to be able to do. So we have all kinds of tasks for you to do there on the bingo card. And if you download the bingo card, it's actually clickable. So all of the things are linked within the bingo card. And then you can also click and tick at the bottom of each box. So if you are here live, we see Jennifer, Andrew, and Rachel. So you can go ahead and just tick that box off that you joined us for the live. And once you get a full bingo line, so 5, whether it's a cross, down, sideways, doesn't really matter. Once you get a full bingo line, you come and tell us in the thread for today or tomorrow or the next day that you have bingo. Just type bingo there in the thread, and that means that you get your name in the hat for today's prize, which is, as Kailee said, her amazing Move on Track bundle, which just sounds like such a great resource for all parents. So we definitely want you to be the one that gets that. Don't forget to tick bingo. And with that, I think we're going to go talk a little bit more about our sponsor for today. Kailee, do you want to take us off with that?
Absolutely. So I'm super excited to announce that Sassy Baby Products is today's sponsor of the summit. They are toys and developmental items that I personally used with my kiddos and have shared about a lot on my account. So I was so excited to hear that they wanted to be a part of the summit. I do have a couple of items on hand that I want to show you guys. The first one, apparently my children have misplaced some of the little stacking rings.
Sorry, Kailee, I'm just trying to fix the screen there. There we go.
You're
Sorry.
good. You're good. But what I love about this one is it's not tapered. So from an early age, babies can be really successful with getting these on. Still love the tapered ones, but then you have to make sure you're putting them on the right order. They're kind of wonky, but they also have great little sensory components to them. They make great chew toys. I often use, actually from Sassy Baby, their little linking rings to link these to hang down from like a play gym or something like that.
Cool.
Redding really loved to teeth specifically on this one. And this one, it's hard to tell in the video, but this one I can actually compress with my fingers, and he loved to gnaw on that one. So great for fine motor development. You know, Holly, you can kind of touch on some of the benefits there, but really, really love this one. And they've served so many purposes, even through toddlerhood. My kids have worn them as bracelets and all kinds of things. So that's a good first one. While I'm getting out the next one, do you have anything?
I love also that it's soft. I find a lot of the stacking rings, whether the blocks are wood or the stick, is very hard, and it actually, you know, as our children are learning to coordinate their hands, it's so natural for them to be flinging things. Mm-hmm. So I just always love baby toys that are soft and that we don't have to worry about, you know, as soon as we turn our back, somebody's head is going to get bumped.
Agreed. Agreed 100%. This one is a super fun one. I'm not a big, I don't know if you can see it lighting up. I try to avoid too many light up overstimulating toys, but this one has a really nice soft light. It has a suction cup, so you can put this on their high chair tray. We've suctioned it just to our wood floor before, or like a little play mat, you can kind of suction it there. This one is really fun too, and they love to tease on all these different colors. Great sensory components here. Nice. It's hard to see in the light, but such fun little sensory components here. And I guess I should also add, we added all of these to our Thriving Summit Amazon storefront. So that is linked in every daily feed. When you go in there, you can see exactly where to click for our Amazon storefront. Those are items that either speakers have recommended or we love and personally have vetted for. So this is a really fun one too. I think it's my favorite purpose is to use it for reaching and tummy time to get some of that reaching that then leads to rolling. But this is a really fun one as well. And then they have since updated this to look a little bit more modern, but this is their, oh, sorry for blinding you guys. This is their little tummy time mirror. So it can be laid flat, or you can open it up here. It has Velcro on the bottom and it stays up. This is super, super soft, made of foam. Kind of like Holly said, you don't want to have to be worrying that your baby is going to knock something over on themselves. And so I loved this. I loved that I could easily take it with us somewhere. It's got a fun little spinning ball here that has really fun noises, and then a crinkle bee. So I even love to lay this completely flat and let baby be looking down at themselves, or if they're practicing sitting with hands down, it's great for that too. So that one's really fun. And then I'll just kind of quickly show, I knew I wouldn't be able to show the full play mat, and they've actually since come out with a little bit more of a modern kind of Montessori style play mat that has the wooden, just a little wooden bar that goes across the play mat. It's a little more simplistic, which is really nice. So this one though is super fun. And what I love the most about it is that it actually has on the play mat month by month little different developmental insights that might be of
Oh,
interest to you.
nice.
High contrast colors. This is really, really soft, and you can actually unbuckle the play arch from it. So you could still use this as a really cozy place for baby to play and explore. The arch, I find, is kind of similar to some of the materials that come on the Love Every Play Gym, but it's a much lower price point. And so the arch can actually be used to go over the baby, or you can lay it down in a circle and buckle it in, and it'll be a tummy time circle to encourage them to go in a circle. So there's fun little sensory ribbons, lots of high contrast stuff. This is a little teether. This stuff crinkles and it has the color and the high contrast items there. So lots of fun add-ons to that I am not even showing, but all of those products are amazing. We love Sassy Baby and encourage you to give them a follow and check out those items on our storefront.
Yeah, and just thank you to Sassy Baby for sponsoring today. We so appreciate it. It's a way that we can make this come together for you. Of course, it's a lot of work. We've mentioned this before, I think, but Kailee and I have been kind of like plotting and planning and working on this for about 6 months behind the scenes. So we're so grateful to our sponsors that make that possible. Okay. Sorry, so Lisa, you made a comment that you had to log into the account in order to make a comment. That is true. Because we're using StreamYard, it doesn't always show us your name unless you choose and then like log in with your name in order to display your name. But you can also just come in here as user and write your name in brackets, and that's totally fine as well. But it is nice to see you guys with us. I did also drop the link for our Amazon store there in the comment box. We are Amazon associates, so we just have that disclaimer that we earn a couple of pennies off of anything that you do choose to purchase. Okay, so we've covered sponsors, we've covered the bingo card, we've talked about the amazing prize today, which is from Kailee, and now we are going to be moving on to your questions. So if you have any, as we're chatting, just drop them in the comment box. If you've got any questions about anything that you heard today about the summit, anything that we're covering today ourselves, we are here to answer your questions, and we really want that you feel supported in this summit and in this journey of motherhood or parenthood. I know we have some men with us as well. Okay, so Kailee, today we're going to be talking about our best and our worst, and I'm actually really excited to hear yours because we come from very different corners of the globe and different experiences. So do you want to kick us off? We're going to be talking about your best and worst advice that you've received.
Okay, yeah, this was a lot. This was hard for me because it's been a long time since I had bitty babies, but it was really good for me to think on some of the things that maybe I thought were good advice, and then over time have realized with the wisdom that comes with motherhood that maybe that wasn't the best advice. So I'll start with the best advice first. I will never forget the day that I had Ada June, our first little girl. My grandmother said, "Wow, look at her. She's so interested in people around her already, and she's only been here for less than a day." And she said, "Just pay attention, because who she is today is a little glimmer of the person that she's becoming." And I could kind of tear up thinking about that, but I kind of thought it was a little bit silly at the time. She's a newborn baby. She is not anything at all of the person that she's going to become, but she's so social now and so interested and observant and listens to everything. And I think what stuck with me the most was through each developmental phase was to look for who she was becoming and who she naturally was. I think we often can get into this milestone frenzy that our babies have to be excelling in every area of development when we don't excel in every area of life. We have our own strengths, our own things that we really love and enjoy. And we also have things that we don't like and that we're probably not good at. And it just really helped to remind me that she was a little person who was going to have her own strengths and weaknesses and likes and dislikes, and that was okay. And that I could really embrace the things that were brought joy to her, and also know where she needed a little bit more support and not feel like that meant something was wrong with her. It's just who she was. So that was a really good piece of advice. And then actually, I believe it was Dr. Cassidy in her talk spoke about quality of time with our kids over quantity of time. Because what I found myself doing was I had that mom guilt, right? Where I felt like, oh, I can only be a good mom if I'm present for my kids all day long, all evening, etc. Well, I was burning out. I was exhausted. I was working in every nook and cranny of my day and into the evening. And I had no space carved out for myself, whether it be to move my body or to see my friends or to spend quality time with my husband. And the quality of the time I was spending with my kids when I was on that path was really poor. So sure, then the quantity of time in my day was there where I was saying, "Oh, I'm showing up for my kids." But the quality was so low that did it really matter? And so now what I found is if I can also make sure that my bucket is full or at least not running on empty, that the quality of time that I have with my kids is so much more. I am able to time block and, put my phone, like I've been doing this thing recently where I put my phone away for several hours and we just go play. And me and the quality of that time is so good. And then the quality of my work when I'm able to then go back to work and spend some focus time there is so much better rather than being pulled in a million different directions. So if you have, if you're a working parent or you're just struggling in general, know that that quality of time is what's most important, not just you physically being present all of the time. And it's okay to take some time to nurture yourself. Do you want to go with your best or do you want me to go into my worst?
Yeah, you can keep going with your worst if you want to. Those
Okay.
words are so beautiful. Like I'm like a little bit like choked up here. So
I
I think you carry
know,
on
I know.
until
It's hard to look back and like realize that you've made mistakes, but it's all been refining. I hope everyone can remember that we're all going to make mistakes. But if we keep growing, we are gonna find things. I am a completely different mom. Even now than I was 6 months ago, a year ago, I have changed so much, and for the better, and I can't guilt myself about things that I did before that I maybe thought were right. It's a journey, and we're all learning. So, the worst advice, a lot of my, like, really bad moments in parenting, I feel like have centered around sleep and unrealistic expectations, which is why I loved Rachel from Hey Sleepy Babies chat. But just thinking back to some of the things that I was told that I totally bought into that just now to me feel like that is so crazy. I was in the trenches of all of it and I was exhausted. So I was willing to take in whatever information I thought was going to be the golden ticket to my child sleeping, but it didn't work. And now I just think, how silly was I? So one of the worst pieces of advice was like, don't look at your baby. When you go in to soothe them, like don't look at them. It's going to be um it's going to like stimulate them and they're not going to go back to sleep, or you shouldn't hold them to sleep or nurse them to sleep. I can't even go into all of that because I'm not a sleep expert, but ever since I've become now a toddler mom, I'm like, that was really silly. I can understand how people can say that. And from a psychological perspective, there are many things like with behavior extinction and things like that. But my ultimate goal as a mom is to love my children deeply. And if it means that I have to look at them in the eye when I go in to settle them down, like, I'm gonna let myself do that. Or if it means that I have to rock them to sleep or hold them in the rocking chair, just to allow them to rest, that's something that now, hindsight perspective, I wish that I would have not been so rigid with some sleep things that I had embedded in my brain from information I was consuming.
yeah. That I think like the things that you've said, I like what I said earlier is that we come from like really, different corners of the globe and stuff, but it feels so relatable. Like I can relate 100% to each of the things that you said, especially with the rigidity aspect of any kind of training. Yeah. Okay. Are you done there, Kailee? Should I move
Yes.
on to mine?
Yeah, you go,
Okay.
girl.
So if you've just joined us, we are talking about best and worst advice that we have received. And if you're here with us, come and drop in the comment box as well, something that you've received. I mean, I know somebody told me once, like somebody had told them that like the first thing that you should do when you meet your baby is like hold them upside down or something and like give them a good smack. Not the doctor, like you as a parent. So there's like a lot of old school advice there. I think for me, one of the worst things was like the don't hold your baby, you'll spoil them. Because it was like very strong when my son was just born, and he was like a crier. So it was just really like, it felt very confusing because your natural instinct is to pick up your child, right? So I'm glad that I got past that piece of advice, but I definitely received that a lot. Like, don't hold them, you'll spoil them. Then the second advice that I got, actually before I even had my baby, there was like a lot of push around returning to work. So where I live, we get 3 months of fully paid maternity leave. It's like a bit more than 3 months. And I know that that's like amazing. It's like such a blessing, and it was such a blessing. But at the same time, going back to work after 3.5 months was like, I wish that I hadn't listened to that advice. Like, when me and my husband look back on it now, we're like, why did we do that? Like, why didn't we, restructure our lives so that we could extend a little bit? Because it was just so hard returning back to work. And also, like, as a therapist, when you're working and not with your phone, and some of the work that I was doing at the time was like in hydrotherapy, so it's in the pool. And then I remember there was a day, like, he was really fussy with taking bottles. So there was a day I'd been in the pool for 5 hours, checked my phone, phoned the daycare, and they were like, no, he hasn't eaten yet. And I was like, it's been 7 hours since this kid has had any hydration. He's like 5 months old, and it's 36 degrees outside, which is in Celsius. So in Fahrenheit, I don't know, it's like really hot, basically. And I was like, I can't do this. So awful. So I just wish that I hadn't listened to that advice and like been willing to let having children disrupt my life a little bit. Because like, as time has passed, they've very much disrupted my life. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so we did that anyway. So that's going back to work. Then my best advice would be co-sleeping. I'm just like, that was such a game changer for us personally. It just worked so well to have like a side crib on our bed and have the baby with us. It was like a great investment to get that. And then I think the other like best advice that I got was giving my husband the reins on things. Like, as you said a little bit about like with the rigidity with the sleep stuff. And I know that, I think it was in Dr. Cassidy or Dr. Cutlip's interview, you also talked about this, like the sleep process of how to put the baby down, and like, you've got it down, so you can't let your husband do it. And like, I definitely had that as well. And there were so many things that I thought like, oh, it has to be done this way, and exactly this way, it will not work. And actually now, like, really my children sleep because of my husband, because I like was like, you take this, like, you do what you need to do, you do the things. And yeah, he just isn't as much of a sucker as me, I guess. Like, he, like, and I'm not saying like in terms of crying out or anything like dramatic, but he'll be like, it's okay, tap them on the back, where I'll be like, oh my gosh, you're slightly uncomfortable, let me like, rework the whole evening, like just make you comfortable. Whereas he like could be more reasonable and rational as well in the middle of the night. So that was, good piece of advice.
I love it.
Okay, should we move on to products?
Yeah.
You want to give us some of your best first?
Sure. Well, and I want to just briefly touch on what you said. Like, I wish we would have restructured our lives to be inconvenienced by kids for a little bit longer. I think that's so wise, and it's something that we just don't think about. A friend actually said to me last week, and I'm going to kind of butcher what she said, but she basically said, I think a lot more women who desire to stay home could, if they could give up the lifestyle they're living. Meaning, and I don't want to like step on any toes, but meaning for us, we had to say like, oh, if I really want to stay home, what does that look like finance wise? Is it the cost of staying home and not maybe earning that income worth some of these other things we're sacrificing? And I think that is something that everyone has to evaluate for themselves. Like, if you want to stay home, many people, it is a privilege to have a choice, right? It's a huge privilege to have a choice. But I think some of us have to think about, are there changes we could make financially, or the things that we're purchasing or whatever, that that I could maybe stay home a little bit more. Cause I hear so often in my community, moms who really want to stay home and they say, but we just really depend on my income. And I think the meaning of depending on your income is different for each family, right? So I love what you said, because like we did the same thing where we kept Ada home when I was on maternity leave with Redding. Hindsight, maybe, would have liked a day or two to like just be with the baby, but we did have to restructure our finances to do that. And I wanted to take a longer maternity leave. I only took 8 weeks with Ada, and it was so hard. And I only took 10 weeks with Redding, and it was just as hard. So if you can take longer, I love that you gave that advice. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
best.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go
Sorry,
ahead,
just
Holly.
one thought with that. I think also like there's something about the hindsight, hindsight is 2020, but also like in terms of raising kids, like I remember when I had my first little guy, I just felt like life would return back to like the box form of like, at 9 to 5 or whatever it was. I mean, therapy is not really 9 to 5, but like, he would just like fit into the box of how a family works. And there is something about like not losing every boundary, right? Like still maintaining some of the good things that we have in our family, but at the same time, it is a whole new person. So just like when we got married and now like life looks really different because there's a whole nother person. It's not just a little like corner of one cupboard that we've made space for. It really is like everything changes. Like the cars that you need in order to fit the car seats, the house that you need in order to fit the children, like all the things change. And they continue to change even now. Like we're approaching the stage of like where my son will be going to school, and like it's another whole like new flip over of our schedule and everything. So just to like be aware of that, right? And give yourself like the breathing room when all of the things do need to shuffle around a bit, that like we'll come out the other side of it.
Yeah, I love that. Such good points. So I tried to think of the best products. I mean, there are so many that I love. One of them that I used the second time around that I didn't have the first was milk catchers that you actually like put in your pumping
Nice.
or nursing bra, and it collects the milk. Some of them can leak. I have heard that the LV, I think, is really good at not leaking. And so maybe I need to link that in our Amazon storefront. But um, I was losing a ton of milk, and I actually was getting nipple damage from the wetness, even though I had nipple, like the breast pads on. It was just so much milk early on. I had some oversupply stuff. So whether you have over or undersupply, most likely you're releasing some milk, and those are precious ounces, right? Even if you just get like a quarter of an ounce, that's precious and can be used. So that was a big one for me. And then any of my baby carriers, I know you're going to speak on this too, Holly, but those were what made me feel so empowered in motherhood. Once I got baby wearing down, I was like, this is amazing. I can love and comfort my baby while also cooking dinner or folding laundry, or if I need to pee, I'm not always nap trapped. So it was a huge thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's also like with my best is the Lily Baby carrier. I love it. I love it so much. I had like some cheap carrier that I'd been gifted for my first, and it really it impacts how much you wear them because it hurts your back. So getting something that was like really supportive for sitting, and also a carrier that with adjustments you can use really early on, to keep them in that safe sitting position, it was so great. It was such a big change in terms of carrying them around. So Lily Baby was mine, and then like I said, in terms of like the co-sleeping, having that like I don't know what they call them, like a side crib. There's some word.
Like a
Can't
little
think what it is.
bassinet, but
Yeah,
one that opens on the side. I've
yeah.
actually thought if we have another, that's what I want to get, because ours was a bassinet with us, but it had a really tall edge. And so it was really awkward to like try to sit
Yes.
up and get baby out to nurse, but without
Yeah.
disturbing them too much. So
And then
you'll have to send me which one you have, and I'll add it to our storefront.
yeah, I mean, I had just like a really basic one, but the thing for me as well, like in terms of like when you're postpartum, like that actually, it's so simple, right? You just stand up, but standing up when you're postpartum and everything, it's like really painful. And so just being able to like lean across instead, and both of my kids, they really appreciated like the close contact.
Yeah.
with the, that like little side crib. Okay, and now should we go on to the worsts?
Yeah, and I'm seeing some other people commenting here. I love seeing your guys' best and worst advice in the comments. Jennifer says she was able to collect over 100 ounces of breast milk in 3 weeks from the little milk catchers, which is
Wow, that's
amazing.
amazing.
So, like, if you're needing to build a supply for going back to work and you don't want to have to add in extra pump sessions, which is the way I was, that's a great way to collect milk. Lisa said, worst advice is to toughen your nipples. I've heard that, and it's like mind-boggling to me. My mom also, on a funny aside, when she was pregnant with me, someone told her to boil her nipples. Well, they meant the bottle nipples.
Oh my gosh.
And thankfully, she ran it by my grandmother and was like, "How am I supposed to boil my nipples?" And she's like, "Oh, honey, they mean for the bottles, like, to
Okay.
sterilize them."
Good.
Um, um, but yes, so I love seeing your guys' stuff here. Mindy said, trust your instincts and do what
Yeah,
works
that's
for
beautiful.
you and your family. That may not be the same as someone else's. And I think that's so true. Like the
So true.
or staying home conversation like we are having, like it is all about what your desire is, not what you think you should be doing. It is about what your desire is. It can be a mix of both, whatever you feel like you want to do. It can
And
work.
you'll never fit into somebody else's box. Do you know what I mean? Like and especially like when we're new parents, we tend to be pretty like pretty strong on whatever we believe in, which is good. It's like part of the process of growing and learning. But it's okay if somebody feels really, really strongly about one thing and you feel absolutely no conviction on that thing. That's okay as well.
I love that. And we're sharing our best and worst for ourselves. This is just for us, and it's okay if that's different for you. So I am gonna probably like ruffle some feathers with this worst equipment. I did not have it, but I hear about it all the time, and it's the snoo. Do you have the snoo in Israel?
No.
Okay, so if you've heard of the snoo, the one good thing I will say about it is it has been proven to help reduce the risk of SIDS. So amazing. That's awesome. Babies are safely on their back. But as someone who's a huge proponent of movement, it is strapping baby down to where they're not moving in their sleep. And then it also provides movement all night. They have settings for weaning off of that movement, but I just sometimes try to go back and think like, okay, when things originally began with babies, like how would this work? Was the mom rocking them all night? Like, I don't think that that's true. So do we want to be simulating that motion just for the outcome of a full night's sleep? Now, the disclaimer to this is if you are someone who struggles mentally with lack of sleep, and I mean struggling like to the point of it really affecting your mental health to where you need to do something to help get yourself more sleep, get the snoo.
Yeah.
But if you're just seeing it as something like, "Oh, like, I want my baby to sleep all night, like, maybe I should invest in this," I think it's like $1,000, thing, or you can even rent them. I would just say from a movement and development perspective, head shape, all things considered, we want baby. It is physiologically normal for a baby to wake multiple times at night, and it's actually protective to their body. It's also developmentally and physiologically normal for baby to move a lot at night, and that's actually when they do a lot of their movement exploration. So I don't love the snoo, but I truly mean it when I say, like, there are things in motherhood that experts are going to say, I don't think you should do that. But if it's at the cost of your mental health, I also feel that way about breastfeeding. I think it's great to try to pursue breastfeeding if you really, really want to. But I have had friends who truly, the day that they stopped breastfeeding, they felt finally back to normal. Like their hormones normalized. They just enjoyed motherhood so much more. So it's just one of those things you have to, again, do what's right for you. But that's one of them that I don't love. And kind of on that same vein, adding all of the big ticket items to your baby registry, I feel like we all feel this pressure if we're going to have a baby shower thrown for us, like, well, I need to add the swing and the bouncer and the exerciser and all these big ticket items that I don't want to have to pay for. But you can function in motherhood without those things. And wouldn't it be cool if you could actually maybe ask for gift cards for like postpartum pelvic therapy or a cleaning service, like just for the first 3 months postpartum, or something that will actually help alleviate some stress without feeling like you need all of these big things to put in your house.
Yeah, that's great advice. So I'm kind of like the opposite because I'm super frugal, and especially when we had a baby, I was like, I don't want to have all of the stuff like cluttering up my house. So in like hindsight, I kind of wish that I had invested in like a few things more, like that I'd actually put like financial priority on a couple of things specifically. Jenny, that's totally fine that you're joining late. Thanks for being with us. So specifically for me, like in terms of breast pump, I had a very complicated breastfeeding journey, but pumping was really, I needed to pump as well. And like I should have just looked more for the right pump my first time around, which I did my second time around, but I wish that I'd like invested a little bit more there, instead of just feeling like, oh no, it's too much money or whatever, right? Like investing in the things that you do need, and that will be helpful. And then the other one, is baby mats. Like, I don't know why, we had like quite a few baby mats when my first was born, and a lot of them were actually really stiff. So it didn't feel like comfortable putting him down, like if he like rolled over or whatever. So just getting a really good baby mat was a great thing that we did the second time around. Yes, and now we are going to be moving on to our experiences. So we're talking, if you've just joined us here, thanks for being with us. We are running the Thriving in the First Year Summit this week, and we are today talking on our live about our best and our worst. And we've loved seeing your comments in the comment box, so make sure to keep them coming. Your best and worst advice, experiences, or products that you bought or were gifted. And we're going to be moving on to experiences. So Kailee, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'm typing you a message because it won't let me comment, but it'll let me message you. But I have a blog post I wrote on some of our favorite play mats, so I'll send that to
awesome.
you.
I'll put it in the comments.
Okay, so
best and worst experiences.
Best and worst experiences. Okay. Worst, and then I'll like end with best. Worst for me was I had 2 winter babies, and Ada, we were in a more temperate climate, but Reading, we were in the cold, and I didn't prioritize getting vitamin D even in the cold, and getting outside and getting sun exposure. And for about 4 months, I really struggled. He was born in November, and it was just like postpartum on top of seasonal affective, and just being cold and inside was really hard. But when I really started understanding my love for being outside with my kids was springtime came, and I just felt like there was chaos. Like the house was chaos. There was so much noise. There was clutter. I was just overwhelmed. And so one day we decided to go outside. I laid out a picnic blanket and we did tummy time outside, and I read books with Ada, and she laid on her tummy. So Ada was my toddler, and then the baby was doing tummy time. And I suddenly felt like, oh my gosh, I feel like I can breathe. I feel like things are better. And you talked about this yesterday in your live, Holly, like about overstimulation, and how when we get outside, we can breathe, we can hear, we can think, and our vision is not cluttered. Natural colors are calming. The breeze feels amazing. Babies love to be outside. So my baby, who was like loved to be held, was suddenly better behaved outside. He was more content and calm. And so that was like, the upside to the worst part in season. So I kind of put those like as the worst and the best. And then like one of my other worst experiences was just not taking care of myself, and understanding that there were things that I needed to take care of. I was so hyper-focused on the babies. I had a constant hunger. I was eating all the time, and I was actually losing weight as I was eating, like hordes of food all day long. I was starving. And then as I got out of like the first year of my kiddos' lives, I suddenly realized like, oh, this is like an underlying thing. This is something that I should have been taking care of myself, but I was not. I was so hyper-focused on them and their development that I could have been taking a lot better care of myself. So it's actually called postpartum depletion is what I had. And I won't go into all of that, but I think it's something that a lot of us, I shouldn't say a lot of us, but a larger number than they are aware of, deal with. And so then the best, like I said, was realizing the outdoor playtime just has helped me thrive in motherhood. And then whenever I had Reading, I actually, for my first birth, had a really bad epidural experience, which is rare, but it was just my own experience. And then I had an unmedicated birth experience with Reading. And that's one of my favorite memories, was just like being so connected with the birth process, and what that looked like. And that's so different for everyone. But it really was one of those like monumental moments of like feeling so empowered in motherhood. So
Oh, I love that. Yeah, like even though we're on the other side of the globe, actually, as we're like talking, I'm like, we've got so much more in common. I didn't realize both of your kids are also winter babies. So we have a comment here as well from Jenny, just saying how nervous she is about going into the winter. Her baby's due in November and she has a toddler. Jenny, like my baby was born on the 5th of December and my toddler was home with us as well. And I don't want to like rose cover anything, but honestly, it was also so special. There was something just so special about having that time with them together. Um, Definitely challenging, especially with not being able to go outside more. Like we found pockets of time. It's warmer here, but pockets of time, even if it was like an hour that we could get outside, I found that really, really helpful. Going for stroller walks. What we actually did was we used to go for a walk in the morning with a baby in the carrier and toddler in the stroller, or when he got a bit older, onto like a balance bike. And just having like also a podcast or hearing an adult's voice, especially when you're home alone, like the time that you're home alone with a baby and a toddler, 5 minutes can feel like 5 hours. So like you get to 9 o'clock and you're like, isn't the day finished yet? So just having like pockets of time where you're also hearing another adult's voice, and if you can, like connecting with other moms, and even if it's like going to people's homes and having play dates and whatever, it can also be stressful, but it can be just such a relief as a parent to hear another adult with you.
yeah, and I know Jenny, she lives north of me, which is really, really cold. But I will say that No Such Thing as Bad Weather, I think is what it's called, in the talk with Simplifying Play, she talks about that book. I would like encourage you to read it, because I think we get in our heads that we can't take baby or toddler out when it's really cold. And of course, we don't want to be spending a lot of time, but like you said, Holly, like small pockets of time, even if it's there's a tremendous benefit before 10 a.m. to get that sunlight. So maybe it's literally 10 to 15 minutes tops. You're bundling everyone up and you're like, we're just going to do this. We're going to get outside and get 10 to 15
adventure of the day.
bundled, especially when you wear the baby and you've got
Yeah.
your winter coat. They're so protected from the cold. But often I would make the excuse that I didn't want to bundle up my toddler. And now we've built an outdoor tolerance to where I would totally take a young toddler outside in the snow or the cold or whatever it may be. But, just those pockets of time, like Holly was saying, and I'm always here to chat if you need to, Jenny, because hindsight perspective, there are some things that I wish I would have done differently for myself, for sure.
Yeah, I remember when it was like winter with my baby and my toddler, newborn baby, and somebody sent on like one of the moms groups that I was part of this video of a mom like doing a like ice skating, but like ice hockey with her like 5-year-old with a baby in a stroller with her, and they like wrote like, this is like a super mom, and I was like, this is crazy. This is insane. Who does this kind of thing? But I mean, it is true. Like also in Europe, I mean, there's a lot of emphasis on taking babies outside and getting them into also the cold air. So the bundling up, it is worth it. Was there anything else that you wanted to share there, Kailee, in terms of best and worst experiences?
I don't think so. I mean, I could go off all day on a lot of them, but yeah, I want to hear yours.
Okay, well, I'll start with my worst. When my first child, my little boy, was really young, he had very, very bad eczema, to the point that he was like, his face was bleeding, and it was awful because he was in so much pain and he was so fussy, but because he was in so much pain. And the pediatrician that we had was like very anti any kind of medical support until a certain age. And of course, like, I'm not going to go into like all of the politics and nitty gritty of medical support, because there are different creams and there are different risks and whatever. But it was like, he can't do anything because he's just crying all day. Like, we needed something. And she was just like, this is the path that we do, and you have to do that. And then we actually had an appointment with her at one point where we were just like about to like crack because he wasn't sleeping and he was bleeding, and one of his like things on his cheek was infected, and she was not there, and we had a different doctor, and he was so helpful and supportive, and actually just heard us. Like, I felt like the approach that doctor was giving us more was like, well, it's because you're not wearing enough like natural cottons, and like, just do all the natural things and then everything will be fine. And actually, like, some of the advice that she gave us was like, put coconut oil, and it aggravated his skin. I mean, I'm not a dermatologist, so I don't know all the nitty-gritty of what works and what doesn't, but I know for him, it aggravated his skin, and it felt like just so frustrating to have this very serious problem and to not have like any kind of sounding board, and just, well, you're doing it wrong kind of thing. So that was not fun. It was not great. And then another one, which I actually talked about yesterday, was like being at a baby wellness visit, which had like a back-to-back pediatrician visit. And my little guy was like overstimulated and past a feed time. And it was just so much crying. It was really intense. So that I should have, and that, you know what I did actually on that one, I took just the baby carrier and not the stroller. And like, what a mistake. Like, sometimes you just also need to like put everything into something, right? Even if the stroller is just there for your bags and all the things. Okay. Then the best one, so firstly, with my little girl, my second born, we didn't find out gender. We waited until she was born, and quite similar to you, Kailee, like my first birth was there, I had an epidural and a, what is it called? Like when they put you into labor, what is it called?
Pitocin or an induction?
An induction, yeah, not Pitocin. There was something else, and I had like a really bad response to it. And the second birth was like supernatural in water. Like, when people say supernatural, I always think of like everybody, singing Kumbaya or whatever. It wasn't. I was like the grumpiest person ever. It didn't feel like there was no Kumbaya. There was just grumpy. But we didn't know her gender. And she was like, I kind of like got into the birthing pool and like really as she was coming out, and I was very grumpy because I wanted my birthing pool, and I only got my birthing pool as she decided to come out. But I was like in the water, and then everybody was like, what is it? So that was so exciting to like find out it was a little girl. And then suddenly I was like, oh, I want all the girl things. I like never thought I would be this person, but I want all the girl things. So that was a great experience. And then the next one was like, as I said before, I went back to work with my little boy when he was quite young, and I had a nice summer holiday when he was probably about like, I don't know, 6 or 7 months. And it was just the best, like after you've had to separate from your baby, and then like having that like good chunk of time, it was like that like magic of like just postpartum with your baby all over again. It was just so special to have that block of time with him, and just such a blessing. So those are mine.
I love it. Yeah. And just on the pediatrician thing, we had a similar experience with a diaper rash that was so bad that she had sores on her bottom that would not heal. And we kind of got to a point where we're like, can't you help us anymore? Like, they just were like, we don't know. It's not healing. Like, we have this set list of things. And so, realizing that doesn't mean that it's then on you. Maybe it's on you to find a different provider that will support you, but which can be stressful in and of itself. But, now that time has passed, we may be changing providers for that reason, because we need to know that our care team is on board with, if all of their current repertoire of help is out and it hasn't helped us, then they need to be a team that can support us in finding someone that will help us, because that can feel like a lot. And I did just feel like it was on me to figure out. I'm sure you felt that way, Holly, too. Like, I mean, it was open sores. It sounds a lot like your little guy, and it's just so horrible and so painful to watch. So we appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to us and our best and worst. And I love reading some of what you guys are saying as well.
Yeah, and if you're coming in on the replay, also drop your experiences, your best and worst in the comment box. We'd love to read them. it's really amazing how this thing can connect us, like these experiences of raising little people. And we really hope that just by being part of the summit, that it is encouraging you, like as we are talking about this. I don't know about you, Kailee, but I'm like remembering all of that stress, and then all of that joy, and like just the like really big fluctuation between that joy and then that stress. So we really hope that the summit can kind of just give you a sure footing and confidence in different decisions that you are making daily, confidence in the times that feel like a struggle, whether it's not getting enough sleep at night or trying to get your baby to latch or pump or whatever it is. We really hope that this is an opportunity to really just like give you a covering and really build you up in your journey.
Yeah. Amazing.
And we do want to just remind you that we want to say thank you to our sponsor for today, which is Sassy Baby. You can find them on Instagram at Sassy Baby Products, and go and check out their stuff. We have some of their stuff linked on our Amazon store as well, which is here in the comment box. And then also that you have 24 hours to watch today's interviews. We have some great interviews today. We have my interviews today. We've got We Talkers. We've got Milestones in Motherhood, Dr. Morgan Catlip, Melanie Potok, some really good information. So make sure that you go and listen. You've got 24 hours to watch. Once the 24 hours expires, which is at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow morning, then you can watch those videos again on the VIP ticket if that's something that you want to do to upgrade to the VIP ticket. The price for that does go up at the end of the summit, just so you know. Anything else that we needed to remind everybody about? Oh, to grab your bingo card. And if you are here live, make sure that you give us some kind of notice in the comment box so we know you can tick off that bingo card. If you have bingo, comment bingo here in the comment box, and you will get your name in the hat for the prize, which is Kailee's Move on Track bundle, which sounds just so amazing. And we'll be announcing the winner tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So you can drop that word bingo anytime, whether you're on the replay or here live.
Amazing. Lisa already has bingo. Way to go.
Wow.
Do you guys have any questions? We told you to say questions, but I guess before we officially say goodbye, does anyone have any questions? And even if they're just questions about, in general, how the summit runs or tech things that you've run into, with this being our first year, we want to make sure it's a great experience for you guys.
Yeah.
Anyone have a favorite presentation so far that they've watched?
Yeah, I had so many actually. Like when I was watching, there were ones that like I didn't think that I would learn a ton from, that I was like, whoa, I like never thought about it like this. Like one of them is Dr. Cassidy's, which is tomorrow on maternal mental health. She goes like really a lot more in depth than just like baby blues or whatever. And also like from today, like Melanie Potok, I also learned a lot from her talk. Just a lot of them have been really, really fascinating. So we would love to hear if you have a favorite so far.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Cassidy's. She actually gave some practical advice for sleep postpartum and like getting sleep even as a full-time breastfeeding mom, that I was like, whoa. If I would have done this with both my kids, it would have been a totally different situation. Lisa says she's got great TikToks she shares on Friday. Dr. Cassidy does a TikTok Friday and it's hilarious. Yeah, so she just like reshares funny ones, usually that are related to parenting.
Oh yeah, that's so funny. Are you on TikTok, Kailee?
I'm not, but she shares them to her
Instagram
stories. Yeah.
Lisa says she loved Hey Sleepy Baby. Yeah, Hey Sleepy Baby has so far been the most watched video. And I think it like makes total sense because sleep is such a big issue. Like it's such a big issue. We all want more sleep.
Yeah, and her freebie, like busting the 5 top sleep myths, I just think about the things that, man, I have such a heart for any of you guys who are in this postpartum season, and like such a wish that I had some of this information postpartum. Obviously I can't go back and change it, but feeling hopeful that like you guys, hopefully your motherhood trajectory is going to be changed. And if we end up having another baby, that I will be a totally different mom. I'll have a different set of information to work from. That is so encouraging. Oh yeah, okay, so Rachel's saying she enjoyed Melanie's talk about the different types of sippy cups. I thought that one was so good too, to just like have a one-stop place where you can go and be like, okay, like what sippy cups do I need? I don't understand. There's too many people saying different things. So I loved her talk as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like we went through an obscene amount of cups, I must say. Like primarily we were just looking for ones that don't leak, but it was also encouraging like to have that reassurance, like if it leaks, it's not the end of the world, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's not. Like it's really not. I always with kids, like you're cleaning up anyway, right? There's always going to be things you're cleaning up. It's just part of it. So if it's a bit of water, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, Jenny says, hey, sleepy baby was helpful with a newborn soon. Yeah, I hope your second. Jenny said that her first was an amazing sleeper, so she's hoping that her second one is too. from our lips to God's ears, that it will be like that for you, Jenny. That's great. Like I think also when you have a good sleeper, it's like it's just such a blessing. Like you know it, right? You know when you like have a good sleeper, it just feels like such a relief. Okay, Kailee. So I think we're gonna call it the end of the live. Thank you for everyone that has been here with us, and we can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a live with We Talkers, which we are excited to share with you. They're going to be doing some of their songs and stories. Their songs are amazing. Like they're so catchy. They talk was today, so you will have heard some of them. And yeah, we'll see you there.
Bye, guys.
Bye.